Hey, what's up, everyone? Mark is here. I hope everyone is having a great new year so far. So, with the upcoming administration change, a question that I've been asked lately is Marcus, do you think that the Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE, will move the needle on solving the national debt crisis? With the recent creation of DOGE, of course, by Donald Trump, headed by Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy, many have begun to take hope that this is the bold move that America needs to solve our country's looming debt crisis, that this just might be the thing that we need to right our country's fiscal ship and save our republic. But, will DOGE really move the needle? But first, let's do this. Let's take a look and listen at what Elon Musk thinks DOGE will eventually accomplish.
How much do you think we can rip out of this wasted $6.5 trillion Harris-Biden budget?
Well, I think we can do at least $2 trillion.
Yeah!
Yes.
$2 trillion.
Now, I like what Elon Musk has done with Tesla. I drive a Tesla. Starlink and SpaceX. I think it's going to be incredibly difficult to get $2 trillion from the federal government's budget and avoid this debt crisis that's supposedly bearing down on us, right? And here's why. Because of the $6.1 trillion federal budget, only $1.7 trillion of that is discretionary spending, which includes the military budget and the general cost of running the federal government. So to realize their objective of cutting $2 trillion from the budget, they'd have to eliminate all of that discretionary spending, including the entire cost of the military and some things over which they have no control over at all. And so what you need to remember is this, that $4.4 trillion of the federal budget is what we call non-discretionary or mandatory spending. Things like Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, and interest on the national debt, which means this, it would take an act of Congress to cut these programs back. And also the Constitution, it prohibits us from defaulting on the national debt. And all these entitlement programs, they're linked to inflation by law. So as time goes along, they're going to get more and more expensive and consume a bigger and bigger portion of the federal budget. And so the truth is this, excuse me, DOGE isn't going to have any real authority to make these changes because they aren't a real agency and they operate outside of the apparatus of the federal government. And they really only have the ability to make recommendations, and that's it. Now, assuming that the federal government takes to heart the recommendation that DOGE does end up making, how much could realistically be cut from the federal budget? Well, former Comptroller General of the federal government, David Walker, he said this, and I quote, he said, "I think that if they go about it the right way, there's an opportunity to save several $100 billion a year. That's real money. But ultimately, you have to keep in mind, we're running deficits of $2 trillion a year, so we're going to have to do things beyond DOGE in order to put us on a more prudent and sustainable path." So, according to Walker, based on a $6.1 trillion budget, DOGE could realistically only hope to recommend cuts of several $100 billion. And while that does really represent, real taxpayer money, and every little bit helps, it's not going to radically alter the trajectory of the national debt. Instead of the national debt growing at $2 trillion a year, it may only grow at $1.7 trillion a year. And if Trump follows through with the extension of the Trump tax cuts from 2017, that's going to add another $5 trillion to the federal budget over the next 8 years. So there goes all your savings from any cut DOGE ends up contributing to along the way. So what is the real solution? Yes, we do need to trim all the fat that we can from discretionary spending portion of the federal budget, but to really make a difference, the federal government will have to fundamentally reform Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. And this is not widely a popular position, but those programs will eventually bankrupt America unless we act right away. And every year that goes by where the federal government fails to dramatically scale back these programs, the more draconian the fix will be on the back end. So, the question, will DOGE ultimately move the needle on solving the national debt crisis? Probably not. Until next time.